Well, we did this song because we were in a movie called Out of Bounds, and we did a song for the soundtrack. And the song came out on the soundtrack, and it was a bomb movie. It was terrible. It was a lot of fun to do, though. But the director said, for the scene in the movie where you guys are playing, there's some action going on, so can you write an ending or a vamp, a rave-up to the song? So that version was, we did that, and there's a really good, like, 2-minute lead break, rock-out, rave-up moment, which he needed for the movie. So that version never came out, was not on the soundtrack, so it was an opportunity to put out an EP, put the long version on there, and get some of that T-Bone Dixon stuff out to appease the fans.
Right, gotcha.
And we did it really quickly in 2 or 3 days, but I think if we would have gone into the studio with Clear Mountain, had more time to experiment, I mean, let's face it, the guy's the best recording engineer in the business.
So you then did one more record for Geffen based on Happy Times.
That was sort of a, you know, they had to let me make another record. It was in the contract. And after the songs from the film didn't take off in 6 weeks, this is where I start to get all bitter and stuff. They didn't know what to do with me, and they A&R'd me to death, and I demoed 38 songs, and after putting me off for 2 years, they said, okay, go down to Ardent, make a record with these 2 engineers, the 2 guys who did Pleased to Meet Me for the replacement.
Right.
And the budget was $85,000, which I think was the second cheapest record they've ever made. The first one was a Victoria Williams record. and their mindset was, we didn't spend anything on this record, it must not be any good. But I love that record. That's my favorite record I've ever made.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and those guys were great. Ardent was an amazing place. I just had the best time working with those guys. It's a little bombastic, a little over the top, but in retrospect, I really dig that. Then it came out. They just put it out and just sank it, and that was it. And I was dropped.
I know it's no good to lie and try to find a way out.
One more thing about Ardent, though, that had to be cool to be. I mean, I'm sure you were a fan of Big Star and that kind of thing.
Of course, and Jody Stevens was there,
right.
And everyone, and the high one amp that they used for September Girls was there, and that's all over the record.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
R.E.M. were next door, and they're friends of mine, so that's why Peter Buck plays on it, and hanging out with them. And Memphis is a really cool, funky city.
Sure, absolutely. Even to this day, it's great.
There's a lot of history and stuff there,
right.
And I just had the best time. So, it was really hot. It was the summer of '88. I was there for about 6 weeks, and it was just so easy to do. These guys were so great. Let's get drum sounds in 10 minutes. Let's roll tape.
Right.
Where Emmerich would sit there for 5 days having the guy bang the snare drum and end up sounding like shit. So, whatever.
Oh, man. So, I mean, it's 1989 and you get dropped. And then I noticed that the next thing you put out isn't until Sleeping on a Roller Coaster in 92. I mean, did you take some time off to just kind of get away from all that and just,
No, what I did was I immediately regrouped with the Tommy Keene group Mach 2, which had Brad Quinn from this band Carnival Season that I produced, and a drummer from Champaign, Illinois, and a couple guitar players. And we started, doing demos and recording, and a guy named Gerard Kozloy founded this label, Matador.
Right, okay, all right.
And so, Gerard always wanted to work with me. So in 89, 90, he said, I've just set up this label, and we're signing these bands, and I remember hearing Superchunk, Teenage Fan Club, and such. He said, but I want to do a label with a major label. So I've approached Island Records. So we had this whole deal with Island Matador Records, months, 100-page contract, blah, 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 blah. I get a call one day, the deal's off. The guy has been fired for sexual harassment.
Ay.
Okay, so that took a year. Then cut to a guy who remixed a bunch of songs from the film named Bill Whitman. He was a guy in New York. He was an English guy. He had engineered the Cyndi Lauper record that was a big hit.
Okay.
The Hooters, the Outfield, bunch of big hits. But he was a really cool guy, and I really got along with him. And he loved the Who, and so he was then A&R at CBS. So here we go again. Okay, I want to sign you. So we do demos. He plays them for the boss. We drive up to New York in 1991. We play a showcase. It's all going to go good. We're going to sign. The guy, the head of CBS, he gets fired. At this point, Gerard says, let's just put out a record. Let's put out an EP. So, hence the 92 Sleeping on a Roller Coaster EP.
Now love is a dangerous thing. I knew I'd finally end your suffering. I'll probably be fine for a while. But she said love's the only thing I've wanted in this life that I know.
So, I mean, what have you learned over the years from your dealings with record companies? Just completely stay away from the big labels? What,
No, just that it's a very tentative situation unless you actually are in the right place at the right time and make a lot of people money.
Right.
And the whole executive thing, getting fired, I mean, everyone's been through that.
Sure.
Because they come and they go. If they're not making a lot of money for the suits and the accountants, they're out of there. Let's bring someone else in.
Right.
At major labels, now more than ever. I mean, major labels are reduced to nothing.
Right. Well, it's certainly a different time now. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, does that? I mean, in this day and age, with you you're still putting out music now, but do you approach things on a sort of a different? When you go and make an album, you're not worried about okay, I'm gonna get signed
Singles, videos, nothing.
Right.
I just like the compilation. I just make music for myself, and I hope other people like it. I mean, that is so simplistic, but basically that's it. If I'm satisfied, this is a record that I would like to hear, and that's why I'm writing it and putting it out. And hopefully, there are other people in the same boat.
So now, tell me this. You worked with Bob Pollard as well. How did you get a hold of Bob?
A friend of mine who's a writer, I'd read that he was a fan of mine, and I've always been a big Guided by Voices fan. I read that Bob was a fan of mine, and this guy was interviewing Bob, I think in 2002, and he brought me up, and Bob said, "Oh, I love that guy, blah, blah, blah," and he said, "Why don't you work with him?" And next thing I knew, I had a guy from Bob's label, Fading Captain, call me up and go, "Bob's really interested in making a record with you." And so then I talked to him on the phone. I'd seen them live a bunch of times. I'd never met him. And he said, "Well, let's do a record. Here's how it works. You write the music. You send it to me. I'll write the lyrics and the melodies, and I'll do the vocals." So in the interim, I hit him up for a couple opening for GBV shows in 2003. And then in 2004, he called me and he said, "We got to put this record on hold because I'm breaking up Guided by Voices, and we're doing this big, last tour, and I'm doing in the midst of doing a double solo album."
Oh, okay, all right.
So then I hit him up for some more opening slots. So then I said to him, "If you're breaking up the band, I'd love to play in your band." And he said, "Really?" So then I ended up playing with him guitar and keyboards at his first solo tour in 2006, and then the record, we eventually came back and we finished the record, and that came out that spring as well.
Okay, gotcha. And have you seen him recently then, or
2 nights ago I saw
okay.
Guided by Voices here at the Wiltern.
That's right, because they're back together then.
Yeah, it was really, really fantastic.
So so people can pick up the compilation. They can go to your website, right? TommyKeene.com and grab it.
Right, and that leads you to the record company website, where you get this free 11-song download, which has some cool stuff on it, some good live stuff from the 90s. We were on tour opening for the Gin Blossoms, and it was recorded with a 24-track truck, mobile truck out back. And there's some cool older songs that never got released and such.
Anyway, so good luck with the compilation there, and writing new material always. I mean, as a 2-disc set here, this isn't like the final word on Tommy Keene, right?
No, I've got I think half a record written. I'm still writing, and let's hope someone wants to put it out.
Exactly.
If not, I'll just put it on the web. People will download it.
I mean, that's the thing these days. It's certainly you've got some options out there as an independent musician. So it's
yeah. I just hope that physical product doesn't go extinct completely. I just pray. You know what I mean?
Right. No, there's definitely something to be said about that.
That's where we're heading.
Yeah, I think we are. It's not necessarily a good thing, but hey. So anyway, well, good luck on the new 2-CD set there, and if people want to find out more information, TommyKeene.com. Then people find tour dates and that sort of thing. So
yeah.
Well, good deal. Well, thanks for talking to us, man.
All righty.
Tommy Keene there. I tell you what, I don't know of another musician that's had more twists and turns in his career. And what is that street in San Francisco, the curviest street, Lombard Street? Yeah, that's Tommy's music career for sure. So coming up on future editions of Icon Fetch, author Elijah Wald. He is just written a new book called The Blues, a very short introduction, and it is what it says, a little more than 100 pages on the blues, the origins of the blues, the different styles of blues, but he also offers some rather fresh insights on different things, and so we'll be talking to Elijah Wald on a future edition of the show. Lead singer for Queensryche, Jeff Tate. We hope to be talking to him in the near future. Queensryche is celebrating the 30th anniversary of their classic album, Empire, with a deluxe edition with a live CD to accompany it. So hoping to be talking to Jeff Tate on a future edition of the show. Remember A Whiter Shade of Pale? Sure you do. It's one of the greatest classic rock songs of all time from Procol Harum. Well, we will be talking to lead singer Gary Brooker on a future edition of the show. Procol Harum is just about ready to release 4 of their classic albums from the 70s in remastered form. And so what we'll be doing with Gary is sitting down album by album and asking about his recollections of those. So that'll be coming up real soon. Another author, Mary Lou Sullivan, she's just written a book called Raising Cain, the Wild and Raucous Story of Johnny Winter. And what an ordeal she went through to write this book. Took her years and years and years just to secure the rights to it and finally interview. And, Johnny Winter's memory isn't so good through the years, so she had to interview a lot of other people as well. But a great, great book on Johnny Winter. We will be talking to her real soon. Fran Healy, he's the lead singer of Travis, and he has just released his first solo album called Recorder. And he's got a little help from Sir Paul McCartney on one of the tracks. So hope to have Fran Healy on a future edition of the show. A couple of Australian musicians. Claude Hay, he's like a one-man band. This guy uses this looping machine, plays the guitar, hits a button, and plays the bass and hits a button, plays the drums and hits a button, and he can loop and layer all this stuff. And he's built his own guitars, built his own studio, even built his own house. So we'll be talking to Claude Hay on a future edition of the show. And also classic alternative rockers, the Hoodoo Gurus, also out of Australia, got their first new CD out in 6 years called Purity of Essence. We hope to be able to talk to those guys on a future edition of the show. Also, instrumental guitar player Michael Harris has a new CD out, and we hope to be talking to him as well. Lots of cool stuff coming up. And something to keep in mind, hey, it's never too early to start thinking about gift giving for the holidays. And Icon Fetch can help because we've got lots of reviews of new CDs, lots of reviews of the latest music-related books as well. And so try to steer you in the right direction of some of the great stuff for that music fan on your list. Go to our website. It's iconfetch.com. Like to get a hold of me? My email address is host@iconfetch.com. I am Tony Peters. Thanks for listening.